Hey everyone, Mr. Andrews here for Wednesday, March 25th for Social Studies. Again, this is the time dedicated for 8th grade, but as I just sent out in my Google Hangouts message, 7th and 6th grade students and families are more than welcome to join, are going to be hopefully answering some questions for anybody that is joining us in the chat today. And we'll be going over the next set of pages in the next part of the reading for the assignment in the packet that you guys are hopefully working on. It's been a few days since I've been on here, so hopefully everybody is staying busy finding things to entertain themselves during this time. So welcome, Pushy World. I don't know who this is, so if you could just let me know, that way we can mark down who is here. Help us out, because that's something that we have to do. Hi, Katana. So right before I was trying to go live here, I was trying to post something on Google Classroom for those that are able to access it. It's Lucas. Okay. Hey, bud. Because I know we've been having some issues, or some students have been having issues getting signed in with their Google account and stuff, and not being able to access certain parts. So hopefully, if I post that, we can have it available for you guys. So if you hear some clicking or typing in the background, that's probably what I'm going to be doing, is trying to post this diagram that is from Junior Scholastic that I think helps out look at like checks and balances a little bit more easily than maybe what the reading is giving you guys. So, hopefully you've been not stressing out too much with the work and trying to, spread it out over this 3 weeks that we have off. Then, we got spring break in a couple weeks. So that's your break as well. If you want to get some work done during that time, go ahead. But if you want to take the week off and do some other things, that's fine too. I'm hearing one of my twins, I think. So hopefully they go back to sleep. That way we're not being interrupted a whole lot as they are trying to take their nap. But if you got questions over the reading, I do have it up on my screen. I know you guys can't see that, but just tell me like what page number or what question or what section you guys have, or where that question comes from, and then we'll do our best to kind of help you out. But again, if this is the first time you're running the chat, and if you're in like 6th or 7th grade and you're looking at it thinking U.S. government, that's nothing what we were learning about. I understand, that blizzard bag was kind of made with the limited time we have. Make sure it can be something that all students can complete, and it is something eventually all students will need to kind of go over, whether you're in 8th grade right now, because that was the next thing, or whether you're in 6th grade or 7th grade. We will be going over, the government system here in the United States, and it's pretty pertinent to, what we see going on with both the state governments going on and the national government, and how they're handling this thing. It's hard to believe that we're in like a week and a half through this already. It's to me, it seems like it's going by kind of quick. Hopefully it seems like it's going quick for you guys as well. But we'll give a few more minutes for students to maybe join the chat. And then, if we don't have any more, or if we just get a couple more, I'll look at the next section, which I think of the reading would be the executive branch, because I know on a couple of days last week, we looked at the first part, just looking at this principle, or this idea of checks and balances, how each branch of government has its own kind of ability to limit the power of another branch. That way, one branch does not become too powerful. And then we also started taking a look at the legislative branch, kind of what is known as Congress, how that's made into 2 parts, and what each part of that is responsible to do, how many members or how many people are in each branch. And then, so our next part will be looking at the executive branch, and then we'll be going into a little bit more detail than what the reading has there for you. So I'm going to try to get this posted on Google Classroom, like I said. Mr. Andrews, and what are we going to do today? Well, like I said, the blizzard bag, the packet that was given to all students for social studies, I'm going to be kind of reading over that and, kind of lecturing a little bit into some more detail, more specifically about the executive branch, which I think starts on page 222 in your packet. Looks like it's about halfway through. Okay. If everything's like stapled front and back, this is right about halfway through. It says on the PDF that I have of it, it's page 17 to 32. So we'll start that here in about 4. I want to try to get this posted on Google Classroom, Lucas, this organizer that I think might help some students if the reading is not making sense to them. So, like I said, I'm going to try to get that posted. Just give me a second. It's been having issues. I want to make sure you guys have these resources available for you in case you need a little extra. I hope everybody's having a good day on their Wednesday, or at least where I'm at. The weather looks nice outside, so I know we have orders to stay in the house, but if you're able to take a walk around your neighborhood or something, just get outside a little bit, it could be very helpful. Like I said, sorry if you hear me typing and clicking away, trying to get this thing posted on Google Classroom for you guys. I always try to time my streams with the naps of my kids, or 3 boys, and so far it's worked out well, but I still hear one of the twins, so hopefully he falls back asleep here. I put him down a little bit ago. So let's see. Okay, so we'll try this with just one student or one class. Then, if it doesn't work during this live stream, I'll definitely try to post it later. But right now, it still keeps. I just keep getting a buffering or message here. Dimitri's here too. Oh, nice. I'm thinking I might have to take this stream downstairs for the kiddos. And they're talking about these toys, huh? Okay. Yeah, this is not working. I'm going to try one more time to post this to Google Classroom. Let's try this. Okay. Let's cross our fingers this time. Hopefully this works. Okay, there we go. So now I just need to do that to all the other classes. So if you are able to sign in with Google Classroom, and some things I've been seeing is that you might need to sign out of all other accounts for one reason or another on your device, whether it's a tablet or computer or Chromebook, if you have your own Chromebook. But then try signing in with your school account and password there. Yeah, and I don't think email's working, but I don't think the Gmail's ever really something we use. It's nothing I've ever really used with you guys. It's always just been pretty much Google Classroom and stuff. And I haven't been posting a whole lot in Google Classroom. I just don't want to overwhelm you guys. Hi, Kiki. But yeah, I don't want to overwhelm you guys with just saying, here's more stuff. So I've been trying to post as little as much, or as little as possible, I guess. That way you guys are able to get all the work done that we have asked you to complete over this time. Again, what you have been given, that amount of work from last week that was, intended to last 3 weeks. So if you're trying to get it all done in like 1 week, I'd say, take a little break and just take your time on it. Don't try to get it all done at once. But it looks like hopefully things, well, that's not what I wanted. Did I post the wrong thing? Mr. Andrews having issues with Google Classroom. Sorry, I promise I'm almost done with this and I will get started on doing the reading and stuff here in 1 second. So I know I have the stuff on Fireball's Google Classroom. So now I just need to do that on all the other ones. So give me 1 second here. Why is this not working? Okay, sorry. Okay, now I think I know what I'm doing. Their Fireball already has it. Okay. Okay, so hopefully if you haven't yet checked out Google Classroom, there is a new post up there that I just made. It has like a little interactive thing you can click from Junior Scholastic. It's a little diagram and kind of breaks down the 3 branches of government and kind of what they're responsible for, and should go into some detail about like the checks and balances. If you're asked to sign in, just like in class, sign in with Google Classroom. As of this moment, I don't think there's a class password like there has been before on like my homepage. I'm not really seeing one for you guys. So just try signing in with Google Classroom. Again, if you're able to access and get signed into Google, your Google account from home. And I know it's been difficult for some families or some students more so than others. But yeah, it's not overwhelming, I don't think, this diagram. But if you're still struggling a little bit, it can help out. Like I said, I haven't posted a whole lot on Google Classroom for the purpose of not wanting to overwhelm you guys and give you like just information overload. But I'll try to make an announcement whenever I do. That way, if you are able to access it, you have these resources for you. So again, it should be on Lunars, it should be on Cosmics, Fireballs, Terras, Venus, all of them. Should be the very top post. It says, use this guide from Junior Scholastic to help with the work. Sign up with Google Classroom if you're asked to sign in. There's no questions that you need to complete there, but it's just there as a handout or as a reference, I guess, in case the reading is not working for you. Unless anybody has any questions, what we're going to do is get started here. And giving a little heads up, I may have to take this downstairs because it sounds like one of the twins is refusing to go to sleep, but we'll try to give it a few more minutes. Okay, so what I'm going to be doing is going over the executive branch from the packet. This is on page 222. Okay. I know some of the page numbers seem to be out of order because some of it is taken from the red textbook and the other part is taken from the student workbook. So this is page 222. It's about halfway through the packet of the work that was given to you guys. If you need some visuals to kind of help you kind of see where this is, it's you see former President Obama and Vice President Biden there, kind of in the top right corner. Executive branch is the headline there. And that's going to be our focus for the day, is looking at the executive branch. Okay? So we looked at checks and balances. We looked at the legislative branch. So we'll go ahead and get started. Like I said, I'll kind of do the reading that's on here, kind of go over some of the vocab, but I'll also go a little bit more into detail, more in depth with some of the key points here. So the focus question, or the big kind of overarching thing that we're asking you guys to think about for this part, is what is the executive branch of government? And that's the big question. We are presented with about 9 vocab terms here. So things like vice president, the president, cabinet, armed forces, Washington, D.C., the White House, ambassador, secretary of state, and veto. And so, as they usually do with this book, they always provide a visual. So we see, former presidents and vice presidents. We see a cabinet, not stuff where you put food and whatever into, but we'll kind of go more into detail about what a cabinet is. Because what happens, a lot of people think executive branch, they only think of the president and vice president. No, Lucas, yeah. So all students, 6th, 7th, and 8th, all got the same work. I know this is completely different from what we were doing before, but everybody got the same thing. So again, you're more than welcome to hang on here. 6th grade, the time that I said for 6th grade is normally on Friday at this time at 1:00. But if this works better for you, you can hang out here with 7th and 8th grader. Hey, Lena. But yeah, everybody has the same work, Lucas. So it may seem like you're in the wrong spot, but I promise you're not. All right, so the executive branch here. So I'm going to go ahead and go on to page 223. And if you wanted to check out what the vocab terms there with the pictures, you can. You see them on the left-hand side of the reading. I know it's in black and white, so it's not always the easiest to see. But I'm going to start here, vocabulary and context. Yep. So the executive branch is the part of the United States government that carries out the laws. The executive branch includes the president, the vice president, and the president's cabinet. So it's a lot of people, more than just vice president and more than just a president. It's a lot of people, actually. It includes the armed forces and law enforcement organizations like the Federal Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI. The president lives and works in the White House in Washington, D.C., and leaders from around the world go to the nation's capital to meet with the president. The president represents the United States when visiting other countries, which actually we don't see a whole lot right now since most countries are kind of on a national lockdown. Ambassadors serve as the president's representatives in other countries too. So the United States and all other countries have ambassadors that kind of represent the United States on a global scale. So since the president and vice president can't be everywhere all at once, they appoint ambassadors, or people that's in their cabinet, in their group of people they appoint to help make the president's job easier. And the couple examples we have, you see number 7, number 7, sorry. Ambassador is a government official who represents the president in other countries. And that picture, if I can see it correctly, I believe that's Hillary Clinton. I can't really see though. Maybe it's not. But it looks like she's meeting with a person from another country. I said hi, Lena. All right, so almost finished here with the reading. The Secretary of State, we see there, that's Condoleezza Rice. She was Secretary of State under President Bush, George W. Bush. And the president worked together to develop guidelines to work with other countries. These guidelines are America's foreign policy. The president has other important responsibilities, such as considering bills that Congress passes. The president can sign a bill into law. If the president disagrees with a bill, the president can veto it by refusing to sign it into law. The bill then goes back to Congress. So this also goes a little bit into this idea, or this principle of checks and balances. And it's the legislative branch's job to make the laws, yet your senators and your representatives kind of working together to introduce a bill that they want to become a law, okay, with both parts of Congress, the Senate and the House of Representatives, agree on it, okay, and then that bill gets sent to the president. The president then can either say, yeah, I like this, I'm going to sign this into law, or the president can say, no, I'm going to veto this, I want it changed, and then it goes back to Congress. And we can go a lot more in depth as to what Congress then can do. They can change the bill so that the president and so everybody kind of compromises a little bit, or Congress can then override his veto. They can kind of check the president, because we don't want a system in which the president just completely ignores whatever the Congress is doing, and the Congress just completely ignores what the president is doing. There has to be some sort of compromise, some sort of give and take. So that's the big idea with checks and balances. Again, if you want to check that out on the Google Classroom, there's that guide that kind of goes into 3 branches of government. I may be posting some more helpful guides like that Am I assigning any new work? Not right now. I will or post a message either on Classroom, on Hangouts, or maybe on here sometime when I will assign new work. Right now, what I would like students to focus on is completing the packet work. Again, that's meant to give you guys work for this 3-week period. Okay. Like I said, I'll let you guys know. And if I am going to be posting work, it may be things like a Google Classroom assignment that we've done in class before, or maybe a kind of interactive Google form thing on Google Classroom that's made by Junior Scholastic or Scholastic News, or maybe it's a News ELA article. I'm trying to take in consideration people's internet access and if they have, a computer or Chromebook or something like that at home. So I'm trying to, like I said, right now, keep it kind of limited as to what you're being asked to do. But right now, Katana, the only thing to work, to focus on is the packet work. Okay. So like I've said before, these like check your understanding boxes, that's not really what I'm going to be looking at or grading. If you want to answer these for your own benefit, you can. You can answer them in your head or scribble them down on the paper if there's room. But these are ones that we would generally answer as a class when we would do an introduction reading. Okay, here in a minute, I'm going to have to go down and get whoever is crying down there. So if you want to answer those questions, maybe together in the chat, you could, the check your understanding, those 4 questions, you can, read them to yourselves. I'm probably going to be moving my whole station downstairs into the kitchen because right now I'm upstairs in kind of my spot in the room. But yeah, Quinn or Ezra is crying. So I need to go get them before they wake the other one up, unfortunately. So you're probably going to be staring at a pretty boring screen for the next minute or so as I go get the little kiddo. I'm sorry if I blind anybody with light. Get a little exposure into Mr. Andrews' household here, I guess. And of course, as I come down, it seems like they stop crying. So we'll see how that works. Okay, I may need to hit some lights and stuff like that so you guys can see my ugly mug, but we'll see. And I don't want to blind you guys with light back here. Okay. So we moved into the kitchen. So, or not kitchen, what am I talking about? Dining room. Okay, but still, just a wall with some pictures back here and whatnot. All right. So, like I said, of course, as soon as I come down, they seem to. Oh, I spoke too soon. Oh, maybe they're winding back down. Okay. So, if we're continuing on with page 224 now, we're going to go a little bit more into detail about the president and vice president. So I'm going to start here at the top, the president and vice president. So the president is elected for a 4-year term. Presidents can serve no more than 2 terms. This wasn't always the case. With our very first president, George Washington, he probably could have ran or could have ruled until he died. But, Washington kind of being the person that he was, he didn't want his leadership, he didn't want his presidency to kind of resemble that of a king or a monarch in any way, because again, that's what they fought a war over, was to break away from a very strong single ruler. Sorry about the glare up here, that's the light. I'm trying to get it out of focus a little bit, or out of the shot. Don't know if that did anything. But yeah, what Washington did was kind of unheard of at that time. He got elected kind of unanimously. He got all the votes the very first election because he was seen as the father of the country after the Revolutionary War. So he is president for those first 4 years, okay, for a term, and then he gets reelected and serves another 4 years. And after his second term, he steps down. He goes like, I've served my time. I've done enough. I want to go back home to Mount Vernon and just continue on a quiet life as a farmer. And that's pretty much what he did. And the rest of the world, or everybody who was kind of curious to see what this new American experiment was going to be, were curious to see what Washington was going to do, because he could have continued ruling probably until he died. But he felt 8 years was enough. He felt that there needed to be a nice, easy transition of power. And so that's what he did. After his second term, he kind of retired back home. And he kind of set the benchmark here. He set the stage for all the other presidents to follow. So it wasn't official at this point that presidents could serve only two 4-year terms. It was just the unwritten rule. And if you were a president, that followed, were you going to be the one to kind of upstage George Washington? So everybody kind of just, if they did get reelected, they only served 2 terms, but it was an unofficial kind of thing. Sorry, I'm really trying to get this glare out of here for you guys, but I don't. Just might have to deal with it for a little bit here. But yeah, it's not until FDR, he gets elected 4 times. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who helped kind of see the country through the Great Depression in the very late 1920s and through the 30s, and helped get the country through most of World War II. He was a very well-liked president and got elected 4 times, actually, but he died pretty early on into his 4th term. After that, there was a constitutional amendment. If you remember, an amendment is a fancy way of saying change. So there's a change to the amendment where presidents could serve only 2 4-year terms. So that means that President Obama cannot run again. That means President George W. Bush cannot run again. They have both served 2 4-year terms. Now, there has been a case in American history where a president was elected, served his 4-year terms. I believe this was Grover Cleveland, if I remember correctly. He got elected in the early 20s or in the teens. I can't remember specifically. Lost re-election, okay, and then ran again later on. So, yeah, 2 terms is the max for presidents. All right, so we'll get back to the reading here. So the president is the commander-in-chief of the military. He is also America's main diplomat and negotiates foreign policy. So really what this is saying is that, the president is kind of the person in charge of, the military. It's more so of like a honorable role. You won't see presidents really out there in the battlefield leading their troops. That kind of has happened before, but that was back during the War of 1812. But you're not going to see President Trump, or you never saw President Obama there on the battlefield, kind of being the one on the very front lines, leading his troops by example. Just doesn't happen. But, the president that does, send young men and women into battle. So that's something they all have to think about. He is also America's main diplomat and negotiates foreign policy. So again, really what that means is when there are serious matters at hand, kind of on a world stage, the president is going to be that person that negotiates or talks, tries to reach some agreement with another president of another country, or what their equivalent of a president is. Maybe it's a prime minister, like in Canada, or a prime minister like in the United Kingdom, or maybe it's a prince or a king in a country that still has some sort of monarch in charge. Okay. So if something happens to the president, second paragraph here, the vice president is first in line of succession. So kind of next in line. So to take over the president's duties. So, unfortunately, this has happened in American history several times, where a president has either gotten sick and passed away, or a president has been assassinated, and then the vice president assumes the presidency. So that's happened a few times, unfortunately. Most recently with JFK, who was assassinated in 1963, and then his vice president took up the role of president afterwards. And that was Lyndon Johnson. But it's not something we've seen really in our lifetime, students. And that was back in the 60s, so it's been a little while. Okay. Need to finish. Vice president also presides over the Senate. So, Senate again has 100 members, so two from each state. Say, for example, there was a 50-50 tie, no majority. Okay. The vice president then would be able to cast that deciding vote to break any kind of stalemate. So there's kind of, well, things in place to make sure like deadlocks or, disagreements can't kind of just continue on for eternity. Last paragraph here. Congress may impeach the president if members believe the president is guilty of crimes. And this has happened, obviously, a few times, most recently with President Donald Trump. He has been impeached. But again, I know in social studies class that we've looked at like, kind of this difference here between impeachment and removal. And those are two different things. Okay. And again, it goes back to checks and balances. So the House of Representatives, which is one part of Congress, can impeach the president, just meaning that a president has been charged with committing some sort of crime, whether it's a moral crime or like a legal crime. A president can be impeached, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that president will be removed from office or kind of lose his job. So several presidents have been impeached. Andrew Johnson from way back when. Bill Clinton was impeached, and most recently Donald Trump has been impeached. There's never been a president that has been removed. There has been a president that has resigned or quit because it was very likely that he was going to get impeached and removed, and that was Richard Nixon. So again, when people hear the word impeach, they think, oh, that automatically means the president's going to get removed. But no, it doesn't. Impeachment and removal are two different things. And what they go into next here is the example that I gave just a minute ago about President Kennedy being assassinated and Vice President LBJ Lyndon Johnson coming next in line in succession, coming after or following another. That's really what succession means, kind of the next in line. Look over to the left-hand side there of the first 7 officials in the presidential line of succession. So this order would be who's next in the presidency in case, if something ever happened to the vice president, or sorry, if something ever happened to the president or something happened to the vice, then next to the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and then to the President of the Senate, which probably be the member of the Senate's experience, been there the longest. But yeah, this list goes on very long. There's a very long list. And social studies skill, this isn't something that you need to complete necessarily, but again, if you want to put your answers on the white space in the but it's not there. But it's just asking about the diagram. Is it drawing outlines and explains how something works? The diagram shows the order of succession for the first 7 government officials to become president. Should the president resign, become too ill, or to do the job, or die? And we get very grim there. And who is first in line to become president should anything happen? Obviously, if you just look at the chart, vice president. So who's the next in line to become president after Secretary of State? Okay, so you have to just go to the diagram there. That'd be the Secretary of the Treasury, pretty much a person in charge of money. All right, the president's cabinet. Again, not meaning like cabinet. Oh, I'm going to put the towels in here. I'm going to put food and stuff in this cabinet. But it's this name given for this group of advisors that the president picks. Okay, cabinet members give advice related to their departments. The cabinets include leaders of the 15 departments in the government, including Department of Education, Transportation, and Energy. The leaders of most cabinet departments are called secretaries. However, the leader of the Department of Justice is called the Attorney General. It's kind of like the country's top lawyer. Okay, so most of the time you're going to hear Secretary of Energy, Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, people like that. Those are the people or the individuals in a president's cabinet. Again, it's a group of closest advisors that the president gets to pick or nominate. Okay? But just because a president nominates a person does not guarantee that they will become that secretary or that leader of that department. They often have to get approved by the Congress. Again, this is just another element of checks and balances. That way the president can't pick whomever they want to and just kind of run rampant. But there is, again, some give and take here. More often than not, the cases that the president ultimately that the president's nominations will get picked for their spots. Okay. All right. So the president's rights and responsibilities. Now we're on to page 225 of the reading here. President's rights and responsibilities. The Constitution lists the president's main responsibilities, kind of what the president is supposed to do. For example, the president must report to Congress about the condition of the country. This report is called the State of the Union Address. The president usually gives this speech at the beginning of each year, and this is something all presidents have done. It's changed a lot in the United States history. Sometimes it was just like a radio announcement prior to television, and sometimes it was kept pretty short. But now, it's become this big nationally televised event. Normally I think the presidents wait until like February or so to do this, or maybe end of January. But President Trump has done several. President Obama did a lot during his terms. President Bush did them as well. The Constitution, again, the playbook, really, the rules of our country is very kind of vague on what the president actually needs to do. So it's really up to the president to kind of decide what they want to talk about and what they want to focus on in their speech. It really just says that they need to give a yearly update to Congress about the state of the country or how the country is doing. The Constitution, second paragraph here, also gives the president the right to appoint ambassadors and Supreme Court judges and to make treaties. The Senate must agree with the president on these decisions. So we've seen this a lot in kind of recent history. One of the powers that a president has is the ability to appoint judges on the Supreme Court. Okay, Supreme Court, and we haven't gotten to the judicial branch yet. That will be for tomorrow. But the judicial branch is the highest court in the country, and this is where Supreme Court justices or judges kind of sit and look at very important cases. Not just because the president gets to nominate who a Supreme Court judge is, doesn't mean that that their pick got approved. The approval needs to go to the Senate. So President Trump has appointed or has nominated 2 judges to the Supreme Court, and they've both been approved. But this isn't always how things work out. President Obama nominated 3 judges, and only 2 got confirmed. Again, this kind of just goes to how the idea or the principle of checks and balances works in the United States government. Just because one branch of government is given this power does not mean that it's like limited power, or that they have kind of no guidelines to work and they still need to follow the rules, and there's still another part of the government that can kind of check them, that can say, you know what, hold up, we don't like this nomination, we're not going to let you pick this person. And this happens throughout American history. So again, check your understanding. Those can be questions you just answer in your head. If you want to answer them on here, just in the little, spaces you can. Something that's pretty cool, I think, is this little look at a primary source here, the Resolute Desk. It's under the picture of President Bill Clinton. Okay? If you're still following along, the Resolute Desk has been used by a number of United States presidents. The desk is made from the wood of a British ship, the HMS Resolute. The desk was a gift from Queen Victoria of England to President Rutherford B. Hayes in 1880. Okay, so that big old thing is a primary source. It's a Resolute Desk. So again, where it's asking research and inquiries, saying use the internet, library, or social studies book, answer the questions. Again, not necessarily required, nor is that writing part. If you want to, again, it could help your understanding of this and just applying what you have learned a little bit. But really what we're going to be checking is this next few pages here. This comes from the workbook, and this starts on pages 217. And again, it's jumping out of order a little bit because some of this is copied from your red textbook and the other parts are copied from the student workbook. So that's why some of the page numbers are missing a little bit, or that's why they're out of order. But very similar to the other ones, you're going to be using some of the vocab here. It looks like for vocabulary words, they kind of switched up the letters to make some goofy words here that don't make any sense. So just unscramble those letters and make sure you try to match them with the correct ones. I think provide an example there for you. Leader of the country, that's the president. So then you have 5 left to complete. So I think for the most part, those should be pretty straightforward. Just go back and check out your vocab terms for that. Vocab and context, again, kind of filling in the blank here for these terms. So I'm just sure you're going back into the text and making sure that these match up with the correct definition. Now, if you remember, if you look into some of the sections here, if you're looking down, it's asking you to like work with a partner or read with a class. Again, do what you can on your own. Obviously, we cannot work with a whole class, but if you're able to like text somebody, you can work a little bit with somebody else if you like. Just do what you can on your own, or maybe you can take the spot of both yourself and a pretend partner just to meet the requirement for the question. Again, that's kind of my big thing. Do what you can. Make sure you're meeting enough of the requirement or answering most of the question as you can. More so, this is kind of, you're being asked to do this on the extension activity parts. Or for example, this one, which is on page 220, says you're going to research American president, give a 3-minute oral presentation about his presidency. Not necessarily, I'm not going to require you to record and upload this or anything because I don't know if everybody has that capability. But, if you just wanted to pick a president, could be this president, could be Donald Trump, could be Obama, or could be any president from history that you maybe like, or that you think their picture looks weird and goofy, or their name sounds funny, and you pick that president. Okay, go ahead and put that under or by my choice. Step 2, using the internet, and I think Ducksters, that website would be very helpful here. You can kind of complete this part. Okay, can answer all those little bullet points. How many terms did he serve? From what year to what year? Okay, who was their vice president? What political party did they belong to? What were some of their accomplishments? What was special, unique, or unusual about his presidency? Do you think he was a good president, and why? Okay, these are all things that we still can answer, or that we can still complete. Now, step 3 is asking you to give a 3-minute presentation to your class. I'm not going to require that. So we can still complete steps 1 and step 2 on the extension activity. Again, I would definitely recommend using Ducksters as a website there, as a good resource that you can really kind of go into a lot of depth. And that website, Ducksters, you can either just search it, or it still should be on Google Classroom. It's probably close to the top. It looks like it's about the 3rd post down or so. Well, yeah, if you go to Ducksters, seems to be taking forever to load here. I wonder if I just have too many things open. So the government has executive branch, president's cabinet, then U.S. president will take you to the biographies of the United States presidents. Okay, so you can click on any one. There are a lot from Ohio. Ohio and Virginia, I believe, are tied for the most presidents, each with about 8. So, yeah, you wouldn't really know it. Oh, I hear Kellen, unfortunately. So hopefully he calms himself back. Yeah, that was the executive branch, kind of in a nutshell. And for the executive branch, a big thing people kind of know or remember about the executive branch is that they automatically think of the president, which makes sense because the president is the leader of the country, of the executive branch. But it is much more than the president and the vice president. Okay, it also includes the cabinet, those group of advisors that the president gets to choose or gets to nominate. It also includes, him being the president, that is, him being the commander-in-chief of the military. So, do what we can to answer and complete these questions. For some of the ones that ask you to give a little speech or work with a partner, again, I'm not going to require you guys to give a speech, things like that right now. Um, excuse me, but I know for like step 1 and 2, you still can complete on your own. And again, if it's asking you to work with a partner, just pretend to be both people. I know some of these ones are kind of silly or goofy where it's okay, now ask a question, have your partner answer it. Just do enough to answer to meet the requirement. But yeah, these workbook pages, for the executive branch, it starts on page 217. First, it's having you unscramble the letters, then it's filling in the blank there next. Okay, and then it looks like some short multiple choice. And again, you can use the materials that you have there. You can also use Ducksters. If you are able to access Google Classroom, you hopefully can access that little, would it be a game? Remember the link for it as you actually like match the correct things to each branch. So students in the past have liked it. But yeah, if you guys make sure you're asking them in the chat, no, in case I ever do post, or when I do post new work on Google Classroom. That was one question I saw that Katana had. So again, right now, what I'm asking you guys to complete or kind of focus on getting done is the packet work. Again, that work was made in an attempt for you guys to take 3 weeks to take your time on and not try to get through it so quickly. So get 2 pages done a day or something, or a page every other day. Just make sure you're keeping yourself occupied, keeping yourself busy at home, so you're not going stir crazy. Try to start a new show. I started and picked up a show. I started I think in the summer, but didn't been able to watch any of it. The Expanse, and I love it. It's really good. So I know Netflix is always dropping a whole bunch of new shows. Watching a lot of Thomas and Friends with my boys because they just dropped a new season, or like the latest season on Netflix. So that's been on our TV a lot. I think you guys would be amazed with my Thomas and all his friends. Kellen, my oldest, was actually quizzing me on who was who, which engine was which. Okay, like I said, we got about 10 minutes left. So, if you guys do have questions, please ask them in the chat, or, ask them on Google Hangouts. So I'll try to check that multiple times a day. See if there's anything of importance that you guys are asking. Because I know some students have had some issues. I'm sorry, get super close to the camera there. In terms of getting internet access, or if, Chromebook was sent your way, if there's issues with that. For my Chromebook, the one that I use in class all the time, that's what I'm using to stream here. It's what I'm doing and grading and stuff on and kind of working on from home. So it works for me. I have my personal account on it, but I also have my school account. So again, maybe you just need to add another account, or like others have said in the chats sometimes, maybe sign out of all other accounts, then sign in. Again, that way you can access things like Google Classroom or Google Drive. But yeah, as of right now, some students have asked about other work, and like I said, I will let you guys know. I'll try to post in multiple spots if I do assign any new work, and the new work would be things like news ELA articles, perhaps. Completely went blank. Google Classroom assignments, or maybe some like Google Forms, multiple choice questions. A lot of the ones that I tend to use are made from Junior Scholastic because they have a lot of things, a lot of useful things that we can use in the classroom that go over the topics we're learning about. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so like 9 minutes. So I hope you guys are staying busy and not going crazy while you're cooped up inside, and hopefully you guys are staying home and only making essential trips outside to like grocery stores or gas, pharmacies, things like that. But so I've gone outside a couple times to like take my dog for a walk and stuff. But yeah, I get that this thing may seem like it's completely overblown, but I promise you it's not. Listen to the health officials. It's what they do for a living. If the governor, Mike DeWine, is listening to health officials and they're trying to give him some ideas to help try to stop the spread of this thing, then we need to do that because it's unprecedented. And it's kind of scary because none of us have really lived through anything this serious or anything like this. Um, you can see what's been going on in other countries where they maybe didn't take it seriously enough and how bad it can get. And hopefully, we don't see that kind of thing happen in this country. Um, but yeah, I hope people are doing all right. Hope everybody has enough TP since that seemed to be the number one thing everybody was stocking up on for one reason or another. Hmm. I wonder why I'm getting that message. I hope that this stream isn't like. So it's got a message saying the stream was unstable or connection was unstable. So I'm hoping that there isn't any issues with this. Yeah, we got about 5 minutes or so here, guys. So again, if you do have questions, please let me know. I'll do the best I can. Or if you got questions later on and you can't ask it in the live chat because it ended and somebody else's time is up or whatever. If you have the Google Hangouts thread, ask a question on there or leave a comment on Google Classroom or try to email. I always check these things multiple times a day. I said sometimes it is a little difficult for me just because of the 3 kiddos that I have to watch. My wife has been working a lot during this time because she does work in a hospital. So it's been a lot of me watching the boys by myself for most of the day since she works a lot of 12-hour shifts. But yeah, ask away. I'm doing my best to get back to you as quickly and as soon as possible. And we've had students ask for questions or ask for some help in the chat, last week and some today. So that's always nice to see. I hope, again, that everybody's doing all right, not going stir crazy, being cooped up in the house. I know a lot of us have like siblings, so that is a little helpful. Guess this is the only time, other than when my wife is home, that I get to talk to people that aren't toddlers or, infants. So I actually get to have some kind of conversation. So that's kind of nice. Believe it or not, I know I miss you guys. I know the rest of the staff misses you guys. It's very weird and unusual for us. So we're trying to adjust and cope the best we can. But believe me, I know I want to be back at the school, but I know it's probably not the best right now until, we kind of know what all is going on with this whole pandemic. Excuse me, makes you take stock of a lot of things in life about what's important or needs and wants, I guess. So I hope everybody's doing all right. We do miss you guys, and hopefully we will be back in school at least for a little bit before the year is over. And I don't want 8th grade or any grade really for that matter to miss out on any of the fun events and activities that we had scheduled and planned out for you guys, because they were some pretty cool ones. A lot of stuff that you guys don't get to see are some of the conversations that the teachers have with one another, and the conversations that we have with like the admin, with like Mr. Nelson, Mr. Lemke, Miss Yingling, and stuff like that about some of the cool things that were planned out that I hope, things go well enough that we can be back in school um, in a few weeks' time. I don't know, but I hope that is the case. We got about 3 minutes left here, guys. So if you do get questions, like I said, ask away. Make sure if you're stuck on something, don't just stay stuck. Either take a break, walk away for a few minutes, and then come back to it with a fresh and clear mind. Trying to get things done, rapid fire really quickly. Maybe that's how we operate, but it's okay to take a break or to admit, hey, I need to step away for a few minutes. Sometimes that's what I need to do. Break it down into like little 20-minute chunks. 20 minutes work, 5 minutes break, then come back to it, whatever you guys need to do. Yeah, it's about 1:58. I think I'm gonna be wrapping up here in just a second. Looks like the chat either died down pretty quickly, or it seems like, I don't know if the chat got messed up in some way because of internet connections. But hopefully this video gets uploaded, and if you need help or need a little extra guidance, you can check this video out at a later time. Thank you for those students that did join us. A handful of us, you were marked down for like attendance, because that's something we have to do in one way or another. We would like to see some more people in here, but again, I do appreciate those students that are in here and active. So it makes things a little less awkward than just staring at a picture of myself and talking to myself, it feels like. But no. All right. Well, on that note, I'll be back the same time tomorrow, about 1 o'clock. Can do a quick recap of the executive branch. That time tomorrow is scheduled for 7th graders, but I know we had a couple 7th graders here today. We'll do a quick recap of the executive branch, and then look ahead at the judicial branch and kind of see how the Supreme Court works and what their roles and responsibilities are. And then from there on out, we'll kind of answer any other questions. And again, I'll definitely let you guys know if I post anything else in terms of work or things that need to be done. But yeah, we'll call it a day there. Again, thank you for those that joined us in the chat. We'll see you tomorrow about 1 o'clock. See you guys.